Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Diraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Lord Rishabhadev's teachings, Shloka number 24. Drita tanur ushanti me purani eneha sattvam paramam pavitram shamodama satyamanugrahascha tapastikshanu bhavascha yatra drita tanur ushanti me purani eneha sattvam paramam pavitram shamodama satyamanugrahascha tapastitikshanubhavascha yatra
Ushati me purani Eneha sattvam paramam pavitram Shamodama satyam anugrahascha
Samodama Satyamanurascha
tapasthitikshanubhavascha yatra
Tapasthitikshanubhavascha yatra
Dhritatanu me purani
Dhritatanu me purani
Neha sattvam paramam pavitram
Yeneha sattvam paramam pavitram
Samodama satyam anugrahascha
Samodama Satyamanurascha
Titikshva anubhavascha yatra
Tapasthitikshanubhavascha yatra
Mataji's can you chant?
Dhritatanu me purani Yeneha sattvam paramam pavitram Samodama Satyamanurascha Tapasthitikshanubhavascha yatra.
The word to word meaning. Dhrita, maintained by transcendental education. Tanuhu, body. Ushati, free from material contamination. Me, my. Purani, eternal. Yena, by whom. Iha, in this material world. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Paramam, supreme. Pavitram, purified. Shamaha, control of the mind. Damaha, control of the senses. Satyam, truthfulness. Anugraha, mercy. Cha, and. Tapaha, austerity. Titiksha, tolerance. Anubhavaha, realization of God and the living entity. Cha, and. Yatra, wherein. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, that is Sattva Guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, that is Shama, and sense control, that is Dhamma, and then truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penances, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Purport. This is a true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. He speaks the true version of all the Vedas. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedascha sarver ahameva vedyaha. By studying all Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna. One who actually assimilated the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. He is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering from threefold miseries of this conditional world, due to their not being Krishna conscious. A Brahmana should take pity on the people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into this universe from the spiritual kingdom to teach the conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender to him. Similarly, the Brahmana do the same thing. After assimilating Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. The Brahmanas are very dear to the Supreme Lord due to their high Sattva-guna qualities, and they also engage in welfare activities for all conditioned souls in the material world. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvikam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So here we are studying the section of Rishabhdev's teachings to his sons. So in this, there is, in the last week we were discussing the aspects of how Rishabhdev is establishing that Bharat, the eldest of all of them. So he being the eldest and also very advanced in devotional service. So rest of the brothers are asked to follow him. So that is the instruction that is given. And then it is established that the Brahmanas are much more superior to him, and the king should actually follow the Brahmana. So why the king should follow the Brahmana? Because like Rishabhdev is establishing in many different ways that how everybody actually surrenders to the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is he likes to serve the Brahmanas. So in this way, like the Brahmanas are the highest of all. So that is one of the arguments that he actually establishes. So, and then this is in this way different arguments that Rishabhdev is actually offering. So this is one of the arguments, that is like the Vedas are the eternal sound vibration, and that is like exactly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is like Vedas also are called as Brahman. So like Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye. So like this Brahma means like the Supreme Absolute Truth, and the Vedas are also called as the Brahman. And so therefore the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. So it is called as the Shabda Brahma. So there is different forms of Brahman that is there, different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. So like for example, in our Mahaprasade Govinde prayers, Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani. Nama Brahma means the holy name, which is the Supreme Absolute Truth, right? So in that way, like we see that this word Brahma is used in different places. In Nectar of Instruction also we see that Brahma Dravatvam, so the Dravya Brahma, so that is like the Ganges water, is considered to be non-different from the Supreme Lord. So this is the Vedas are all are called as Shabda Brahma because they are non-different from the Supreme Lord, and they are in the form of sound. So they are called as the Shabda Brahma. So in this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also considered to be the Vedas personified. So the Brahmanas is the source from which people can actually get the Vedas. So people may say, okay, Vedas is just a book. You can just print and you can have a copy of it and you can also read. So, or anybody can memorize and repeat and things like that. So, but the problem is, it is not just the information that is needed. It is also the conviction behind it, the realization behind it, and then the experience and practical realization of the Vedic literatures. So there is, we have faced the problems of the book translation. So many of the languages, where Prabhupada books have been translated, So, because of lack of devotees or lack of experienced devotees, so some of the languages, like some scholars, were asked to translate. So, and then that's okay, no kind of translation. But some of the cases, like we see that in my own language, in the South Indian Tamil, like we had a previous version of the book, which was quite difficult for people to understand and read and things like that. So, and also some of the concepts are also like not very clearly there. So, but then later when the devotees translate, so it has a different this one altogether. So the Vedas, they cannot be just transmitted just like that. So the transmitter, in between, so they also must be like in sync with the knowledge that has been transmitted. So that is why, like Brahmanas, they, how are they able to transmit? How are they able to act as a transparent via medium? So it is, by these qualities which are listed down. So the challenge in presenting the Vedic literatures is not what I am able to put in something new, to make it very attractive. So the challenge is that to keep it as it is and to keep the present it as it is actually. So because we cannot make it more beautified, because the Vedas are non different from the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord is the most attractive personality. So what beauty we can add to it? Better we should present it as it is, so that the Krishna may attract the people. So the Brahmanas are situated in supreme transcendental mode of nature, so that is Sattva Guna, and because of this, so they are fixed in mind control, that is Shama. So mind control, so and then the sense control, that is Dhamma. So these two things are very very important aspect. So why these are important? So like why these things should not be allowed to act in a way like it wants. So because the mind and senses so is product of material modes, material nature. Mind and senses are product of material nature, and the material things are designed in such a way to inspire sense gratification, and sense gratification is opposite to Krishna consciousness. So bhakti means using the senses in the service of the Lord. Sense gratification means using the senses for one's own pleasure, right? So this is the two like 180-degree opposite activities. So the matter is designed in such a way to facilitate the sense gratification. So the matter is by nature, the matter is going to be facilitating the sense gratification, and if the control of the material things are not there, so then spiritual advancement is quite difficult. So now, if the mind and senses are not controlled, so they will keep inspiring the living entity to do sense gratification. So these two things are quite important. And like when the mind and senses are like when they will be automatically be in control. So when we develop mode of goodness. So mode of goodness means more awareness of. So the last point that is mentioned is more awareness of the Supreme Lord and the living entity, right? And mode of passion and mode of ignorance is more covering, whereas we are not able to identify ourselves and we are not able to identify Krishna. So it is more of covering, and there the sense control and mind control is quite difficult, because there we are in sync with the material nature. So we will be like very easily we'll be doing the material activities. And when we become more aware of the soul and the super soul, and when we become situated in mode of goodness or beyond, so then we become naturally established in the control of the senses and control of the mind. So because the awareness is become little more. So it is very easy to understand with an example. So like a small child, it is it plays with the toys, but then after the child grows up, so the toys doesn't make any sense. So automatically the control, the playing activity is being controlled, right? So because of the growth and awareness and things like that. In the same way, so when we are controlled by or covered by the modes of passion and ignorance, so we will naturally be inspired to do sense gratification. And when we become more aware of the soul and super soul, so naturally we elevate in our consciousness and we go to the higher modes. And when we go to the higher modes, naturally the sense gratification actually gets pacified. So we don't the shama and dhamma, like the mind control and the sense control naturally occurs. And then satya, So, like they speak the truth. So the truth, for a devotee, the truth means what? Krishna is the absolute truth. So Krishna is the absolute truth. So rest everything is false, right? So like no, for example, somebody says like a material activity happens, and if we report that activity as it is, no, that's truth, right? No, so why do like a self-realized soul consider that to be in false?
That is not in relation
no
to
connection
Krishna.
to
That's not in relationship with Krishna. So, but practically also, if no, some activities are happening, like no, somebody is scolding somebody else, no, and then like somebody is telling that no, you are what is that? You are a cheat, no. So he's scolding, and no, this is a very good subject matter for Prajalpa. So this person told this thing to this person. Huh? So why is that's truth? No, such gatna gatiti. So like no, we can speak about that. That's a truth. No, why he is not willing to speak that? Because what is happening over there is that that soul, who is actually a cheat, who's accused as cheat. So he is covered by the modes of material nature, and he is helpless. Helplessly, he is acting in a particular way, and the person who's observing and he is commenting upon, so he is also not able to see the soul, how the soul is stuck in the material nature, and he is just commenting upon what he is actually commenting upon is the modes of material nature, or this particular modes is working like this. So like once myself and Kotibu had gone to the Ayurvedic doctor, and then so he was explaining how his digestive system is this one, and he's getting too much of hunger and things like that. I'm complaining about like no, I'm not getting hunger only. And then the doctor told, see, no, you are describing about your vata and you are describing about your pitta, and both of you are not able to understand what you are. So that's a nice topic of self-realization from the doctor. So basically, like we are describing the modes of material nature, wherein we are not that. So when we are accusing and all the thing is happening, actually, no, it is not truth. This person is not that. No, it is the modes of material nature that is being described over there. Right? So essentially speaking, all the activities that are happening on the material plane, it is truth to only to a certain extent. It cannot be an absolute truth. It has only if you accept a particular condition, so then that thing becomes truthful. So but then if you see it in ultimate perspective, the soul is the other soul that is there, like who is accused as cheat, he is actually not cheat. He is just conditioned by the modes of material nature, right? So just like a person, like if he is affected by a particular disease, Prabhupada uses this analogy, actually helps us understand the living entity in the material modes of nature. So Prabhupada says, like if there is an infection that is there, if there is area is infected with a particular virus or something like that, you go to that area, you get infected. So, and then you start behaving in that particular way. You will develop fever, and then maybe like you're not having sufficient energy, and you're lying down and things like that and all. So now, like, are you willingly doing these things? Are you willingly having high temperature, willingly having low energy and things like that? No. So what is your mistake? Your mistake is you went to an infected area, or you touched the infected area or something like that. So that's how much is your mistake. So what is the mistake of the living entity? He came in contact with the material modes of nature. That's the mistake that he did. And after that, what comes is like the modes of material nature is acting. That's all. Right? So we become infected by a particular mode, so then the modes act. Right? So here we see that another quality of Brahmana is they describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. So now we see that they present the Vedas in the original sense, the as it is, they present it because it's words of God, and people are suffering in this world, and only the direct words of God can actually help them. So if we introduce something new, so it is not going to help. The real medicine has been diluted. So then it will not work. So out of mercy, now how do they actually get mercy? So people are envious, people are like so chalu and things like that and all. तो उसको देख के अरे इसको क्यों mercy दिखाना है, you know? So we should have like that kind of, this one may come. But as the previous point that we were discussing, that the devotee actually sees a person who is aware, so self-aware or self-realized. He actually sees that how these people are caught up by the modes of material nature and how they are helpless. So when we see a helpless person, that is when compassion comes, right? So like how do you get compassion upon a very rich person? How do you get compassion upon somebody who's like really making his way out and very very chalu, cunning and things like that. So it is only because that they are controlled by the modes of material nature and they are helpless in that position. So seeing that helpless condition of the living entity, so a sadhu gets compassion. So it is not that the person who's caught up in the material modes of nature, he is thinking he is all right. Only a sadhu can see that he is actually caught up, and he shows compassion towards them. And they practice penance, tapasya. So what is the purpose of tapasya? That stands as there, na? Aradita yadi hari tapasya tata kim, na aradita yadi hari tapasya tata kim. So if you are actually worshipping Krishna, so then what's the need of tapasya? So if you are not worshipping Krishna, then what's the need of tapasya? So if tapasya is to control the material senses, how to control the material activity, that's where the tapasya is. So the tapasya should not be applied. 16 rounds of chanting, not 1 round more. So that is not tapasya. So tapasya should be applied for control of material things. And then tapasya should also be applied for increasing of spiritual things. So tapasya is applied in 2 areas, whereas something is not good for us, but we are attached to it. So then there is control is applied over there. And something is good for us, but we are not having any liking towards it. So there also rules and regulations are applied, right? So in the material things, the rules are applied for defining the upper limit, and for spiritual things, rules are applied for defining the lower limit. So why minimum 16 rounds? Minimum itna padna chahiye, minimum you have to hear so much, read so much and things like that. And for material things, maximum you should do this much only. Maximum limit is defined for material things. That's how the tapasya. Tapasya is applied for these 2 things. Naturally, if somebody is able to be Krishna conscious, then what's the use of tapasya? There is no need of any tapasya. And if somebody is not Krishna conscious only, so then there is no purpose of any tapasya for him. So somebody who's trying to be Krishna conscious, so that is where the tapasya comes. So if somebody is not somebody is trying to be Krishna conscious, then he has to control the material things, for reducing it, and then he has to regulate, to the spiritual things in order to increase them, right? So and tolerance, titiksha. So tolerance is so there is 2 ways in which we can actually increase our material activity. So one is that indulge in the material activity. Another is trying to give response to the material stimulus. The material world is constantly giving so many different stimulus. So if you say no, I'm not going to do overeating. So that is when somebody will come and say Prabhuji, dekho, it's naya cheez banaya. It's just new thing and it's so tasty. Then we'll be telling, now only I took this one call of being controlled, not eating more. And now only you have to come and describe all these things or what? I'm so weak. So why are you coming and describing all these things? Right? So the material, this one is that it is quite difficult to be sense controlled on our own. So it is the stimulus, the external stimulus are too much. There is too many stimuluses are there, and especially in Kali Yuga, all the material things. In the past ages, we see that there is so much of the society was organized in such a way to give the spiritual culture, to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So all the rules and regulations were arranged in such a way that it facilitates this one. it facilitates the progress in Krishna consciousness. So everywhere there is signs of devotional, this one's like everywhere there is, people used to have nice auspicious signs like banana stems used to be there, and then like different articles, auspicious articles would be there, and many auspicious things used to be displayed. And then the that's for the vision, and for the smell there is like many nice auspicious things were there, like in the old houses, like in old traditions, like everyday morning, so they would do puja and then they would put that sambrani, like throughout the house and things like that and all. So all the senses like are regulated in such a way that they get exposure to something auspicious. So but in Kali Yuga, we see that people get up by hearing a film music or something like that. They put calling bell also, something very passionate, and then you go outside, both the posters and also the animate and inanimate things actually trigger the passion of people and things like that. So everything now in the Kali Yuga, everything is oriented and optimized for sense gratification, right? So and like very little chance for people to become Krishna conscious is there, right? So in this way we see that the tapasya, tapasya is one is to control, regulate our own activities which we decide, and another is the external stimulus that comes, and the external stimulus, the quality that is to be exercised over there is titiksha, tolerance. One has to be tolerant to the external stimulus that is actually coming, right? So otherwise, we cannot control the sense gratification, and will not be able to advance in Krishna consciousness. And they realize the position of the living entity and the supreme, that is anubhava, the self-realization. So because of mitigation of the material modes of nature, or uncovering of the modes of nature, so they are able to find the existence of the soul and the super soul. So these are all different qualifications of the Brahmanas, and therefore among all living entities no one is superior to the Brahmanas. So even in this one, in Bhagavad Gita also we can see that Krishna says that I like the jnanis. Why he says like I like the jnanis amongst the four, so this one pious people? Inquisitive is jigyasi, right? They are situated in knowledge. So what is the difference between jigyasa and jigyasu and jnani?
Jnani is who's God is situated, he knows that who is supreme.
Ah.
Jigyasu means inquisitive about who is supreme.
Yeah, so jigyas, a person who is inquisitive can be in the mode of passion also. So he just wants to understand. So but then a person who is situated in mode of goodness, and he is advanced in the mode of goodness, so he comes to this platform of knowledge. Knowledge means what? Knowledge means I am spirit soul, I am part and parcel of Lord, and I am meant to render service to the Lord. So this is like being aware of our position, being aware of Krishna's position. So that's called knowledge. And if somebody is able to come to that level, means a lot of covering is being uncovered. So that means he is situated in mode of goodness. So right. So a person who is like situated in a better, this one, a person who is more uncovered of the material modes, such a person is very dear to Krishna, because he is, he's situated in a very better position, right? So, and a person who is like caught up in the material modes of nature, Krishna likes them also, but then not to the extent, to a person like who's better uncovered, right? So, like such a person, like Krishna likes, the Brahmanas are, so they have very thin covering, because like they are purified a lot, and they're free from the modes of passion and ignorance, and because of which they are able to actually practically see or practically experience the presence of the soul and the super soul. So because of these aspects, the Brahmanas are very dear to Krishna, and Krishna also considers them to be worthy of his own service, go Brahmana hitaya cha, right? So Krishna actually, he renders such things which are very beneficial for the Brahmanas, right? So this is the true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. So here, when it comes to the point of understanding the Vedas, it is coupled with mind and sense control. So always these two topics come together, and they are directly proportional to each other. So like that is jnana and vairagya. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Ahaitukam, right? So like jnana and vairagya are always together. If somebody is telling that I am very knowledgeable and then but I cannot control my senses, then we can actually understand he is not a very knowledgeable person. Knowledgeable person means it is coupled with sense control. No, these two things are not two different things, because knowledge comes by the way of the general understanding of knowledge is how much we are able to memorize and retain, or exercise our intelligence and things like that. But in the spiritual sense, knowledge means the supreme absolute truth, and ignorance means we being covered and we are not able to see the supreme absolute truth. So that's called the ignorance. So, and then like more we engage the mind and senses in the material activities, so karanam guna sangasya, so more we are in touch with the material nature, so more the material nature is covering us. And if material nature is covering us, how come you are able to see the supreme absolute truth? If you cannot see the supreme absolute truth, then you are in ignorance, so there is no knowledge. So the knowledge in Krishna consciousness means controlling the mind and senses. So it's like sometimes this example is also given. If there is a clear water and if you want to see what is there beneath, so if the water is settled and then peaceful, so then we'll be able to see what is there beneath. And like the mind control and sense control is like a serene clear water, right? And then like if there is no control of mind and senses, that means a lot of stones are thrown and a lot of ripples are there, and we will not be able to see what is there beneath, right? So that's the condition, right? So now like one can understand or assimilate the Vedic conclusion only by practicing. He has to study the Vedas, and simultaneously he has to practice the mind and sense control. So without that, he will not be able to access the real substance, right? And then as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha sarver ahameva vedyaha. So of all the Vedas, like Krishna is to be understood. So that's the final conclusion of all the Vedas. By studying all the Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna, right? So Krishna, this is also very nice, like the Acharyas actually use these adjectives, transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna. So understanding Krishna alone is not sufficient. So understanding Krishna as that supreme entity and as an entity who's not touched by the material modes of nature, and all his activities are beyond the matter, and it is completely transcendental and divine. So that coming to that point of understanding, and even after understanding, so one more understanding is like, yeah, he is my master and I am his servant and I am meant to render service to him. So then that is like proper understanding of Krishna. So once that's the conclusion, is expected out of study of the Vedic literatures. So one who actually assimilate the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. So one who comes to this point of understanding, Krishna is absolute truth and I am his servant. So then he can actually preach the truth. He can be a preacher. So he is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering in threefold miseries of conditioned world due to their not being Krishna conscious. So why other people cannot preach, or why other people should be cautious in preaching? So because when they go out, they think that, okay, now I have got a knowledge of Krishna consciousness. I am going to download this knowledge to somebody, right? So he goes out and then he sees that like how the materialistic people are suffering. He's trying to see, and then he comes back and says, Prabhuji, like, no, these people are really enjoying. We are only suffering. We have to get up early in the morning. We have to eat only prasad, and we cannot do this sense gratification, that sense gratification. And bahar dekhenge to like these people are really enjoying. So then we have to tell, don't go out to preach. Sit down and practice Krishna consciousness for some time. Later you can preach. Now you go out, you will not have compassion on them. They will have compassion on you. बेचारा अच्छा लड़का था, उसको हाथ में माला पकड़ा दिया, and now he's not able to do any sense gratification, and then he also feels these people are enjoying and I'm not enjoying. So that's why a preacher is a person like who engages in Krishna consciousness and who really finds happiness in Krishna consciousness. And when he goes out and he feels outside people, bechara, these people are not able to get happiness what I am getting, so then he can actually safely preach outside. Otherwise, he'll go out and he'll get preached and come. No? So that's the problem. No. So this that is this one, that one who's actually assimilated the essence of Vedas can preach the truth. So he is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering in the three folds of miseries of material world, and they are not being able to Krishna conscious. And Brahmana should take pity on the people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Right. So Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into this universe from the spiritual kingdom to teach conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender unto him. So like now here we see that one is Krishna himself appeared, and then we have Gaur Purnima very shortly appearing, and we are going to celebrate the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is a great boon to the living entities, because all of us know after Krishna's preaching not much of effect. So mushkil se one person become devotee and that too with so much of argument and things like that. But then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is Arjuna, so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came, just by seeing him people became devotees, just by coming in touch of him, like people became devotees. So why? Because there is practical demonstration of this Krishna consciousness, and the highest form of Krishna consciousness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrates. And we can see that how compassionate the Lord is. He is actually coming down to do this activity of preaching. So like we have to also assist the Lord in the preaching, but before that we should become little bit we should develop some taste in the process of Krishna consciousness. Before that, if we think that okay, like Lord is coming down to preach, I should also go out and preach. So definitely we should. So to the extent that has been prescribed, right? So like the new people are prescribed to preach in the way of like passing on the message, like saying that such a nice program is there, you can come, right? And then you can distribute some cards and things like that. And little bit different ways of preaching is there, and book distribution everybody should do because there is a transcendental protection that is there. So but still one should understand his position and be under the expert guidance, that how much of preaching I should do and how much of intake of Krishna consciousness I should do. So that should be a very balanced this one. Otherwise we will become, rather than preaching becoming a nourishing activity, so it can also become an activity where like we taking on the common people's material modes. We get affected by the material things of the common people. So we should see that we should work hard to develop some taste in the process of Krishna consciousness, in the studying of scriptures and like chanting and things like that. And also we should understand, so when we develop this taste, a little bit of attraction to Krishna consciousness, so we get the license to go out and preach for some time. So after that we should come back and do this again. So if we are there too much time outside to preach, then we will get affected by the material modes of nature, right? So we should have a balance of this. So we should have a solid morning program, where we expose ourselves to Krishna consciousness. We hear Bhagavatam, we chant the holy name, and we struggle to hear the holy name, and we do all these things, and then like when we are equipped, so then we can go out and preach. So if the sadhana is not very good, so then we should see like accordingly we should preach. So when the sadhana is not very good, on that day we should go out to preach to ourselves. So we should go wherever we are going to give class or we are going to preach, rather than preaching to the other person. So we should preach to ourselves. Maybe the other person is there in front, but we should preach to ourselves. You are such a rascal, you are not able to focus on the holy name properly. So what preaching you are going to give? So, and we are preaching to ourselves, and the person in front, he is becoming inspired. So the job is done. So when we are nicely nourished, then we can actually preach to people, and that time also people will become inspired. And when we are not very much nourished, and we are like not, our sadhana has not gone well, so still we are preaching to ourselves, but still the person in front is inspired, right? So like so we should see that how we should apply these things in nice way, right? So the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself comes, and we should all have this one desire to assist the Supreme Lord. So we should all try to take up the preaching mission, and when we're talking about this, always it is coupled with our sadhana. So if we don't do our sadhana well, then we will only assist the Lord for maybe 1 day, 2 day, and after that, we will join the party, of outside world. Now, similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. Now, after assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls, right? So, they assimilate the Vedic knowledge and then they, try to preach. So that is why we see that, senior devotees, sannyasis, and all. So they're constantly in preaching tour, because they are, so much, absorbed or so much dipped into Krishna consciousness, so they can go out and preach, all the time. So, but then, sadhakas, people who are still struggling with the mind and the senses, so they have to, do a quality sadhana, and they have to, then they can actually, try to preach and things like that. So the Brahmanas are very dear to the Lord, Supreme Lord, due to their high sattva guna qualities. So because they are high sattva guna, because they are more realized, so, and they are more aware of Krishna, so then, Krishna also is more aware of them. Krishna likes them very much. And they also engage in welfare activities for the conditioned soul in the material world. So it's nicely intertwined. So being absorbed in the process of Krishna consciousness and going out and preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. So both these things are very nicely, equally given importance and nicely mentioned in this particular shloka and purport. So with this I pause. Any questions or comments we can take? So devotees can share anything that you liked, or if you have any question that you can ask us.
Just I want to complete for confirmation. The 8 qualities they mentioned. I will repeat once again. The sattva guna, sama, dama, satya, tapasya, titiksha, anubhava, anugraha.
Yeah.
Confusing the order they given different.
Yeah, that's okay. Srila Prabhupada has put it in he has developed a storyline behind that. Sense control and the this one mind control and the sense control he has put in the front. So because if these two things are not controlled, so then you cannot be truthful, even if you wish to be. So then truthful, and then they are able to understand the Vedic knowledge nicely, and then they are merciful to the living entities, and then they do tapasya and they tolerate the they tolerate the material things, and then they also develop the awareness of the soul and the super soul, right? So he just fits it in a nice way over here.
One question regarding preaching. So when you are going for outside other book distribution, so there will be different phases. Like might be people are appreciative or otherwise they will be scolding. Different types of behaviors. And they will tell different types of things in voice concept. So that times how we have to be appreciate ourselves and should be remaining constant so that we should not be deviated from his words. And just how to capture these situations.
Yeah, so now the question is about, when we go out for book distribution, so many different people will come. Some people may accuse us, and some people may appreciate us also. So that is where this quality of titiksha should be applied. So wherein, they have no knowledge of the transcendental subject, and they are caught up in the material modes of nature. And from their perspective, something that we are doing is not very good. So they are criticizing us. So but the devotee understands that I am in a devotional attire. So just by seeing this devotional attire, so he is going to get some sukriti, and he is going to scold about ISKCON. So he is going to think about subject matter of ISKCON and Hare Krishna and things like that. So that's going to offer him purification. So Shanti se sun lene ka. So and then after we hear that, and then he is also how much of criticism he wants to offer, he is offered, and uska stock khatam ho gaya, to chale jayenge. So then, but then he will get the purification, so of being there. So we apply the concept of titiksha, and then somebody praises us. So most of the time, what people actually praise us, what aspects they actually praise us. Huh?
The way that we deal with them.
So and then spreading of Vedic culture and some Samaj Seva and things like that and all. So because they are in the material modes of nature, they can only see some material good, in the activities that we are doing. So that is also not very much beneficial for them, or that's not beneficial for us also. So we tolerate that also. We kind of tolerate that, and because still the subject matter that they are trying to appreciate is ISKCON or the devotees or the activities that we do. So because of that, some level of purification will happen to them, right? So it is okay. Like just because this topic came, so I'll just mention one particular aspect. So when we glorify devotees, so we should understand what we are supposed to glorify. There are two aspects of a devotee is there. So one is a devotee is struggling to practice Krishna consciousness, and because of his practice of Krishna consciousness, some good qualities have become manifest. And there are certain good qualities that he has already got because of the material mode of goodness, or because of past samskara and things like that, like past material samskara, he has got some good things. So now when I glorify the good, material good qualities of the devotee, I will become more materially oriented. So and that is why it is mentioned, one should neither criticize the material qualities or glorify the material qualities. Because anything to do with the matter, I will become more material, right? So my spiritual intelligence will become clouded. So like we should actually glorify the spiritual qualities which is born out of the practice of bhakti. So then we will also develop in bhakti, right? So sometimes like we see that when glorification comes, devotees glorify anything and everything. so we should see that like we glorify the spiritual qualities of the practicing devotees, right? So that is something that we are supposed to glorify. So that's little difficult to understand. So we should practice, and we should try to see how to observe the spiritual qualities in devotees, and then we should try to like glorify them. So yeah, so like indulgence in matter, makes us more materialist, and indulgence in spirit or spiritual qualities, so we will become more spiritual. Yes.
For all the same question, like when someone is accusing or criticizing, so let's say if he is blaspheming the Supreme Lord of the scriptures, so in that case,
Yeah, that is enviousness. It has gone to the level of enviousness. So then envious personalities, as according to the Madhyam Adhikari level, or that is what is we are expected to practice. So envious people, we should try to avoid them. So it is a little difficult for the like common devotees to handle envious people. It requires a lot more depth in Krishna consciousness. Like for example, Prahlad Maharaj, he could able to handle an envious person. So and get him to a very good destination. So but then like with envious person, like he is so much absorbed with envy towards the Lord, so that he can actually give us that envy. So that's the problem. We are not so much addicted to Krishna as that guy is addicted to blaspheming Krishna.
sometimes these people come uncalled for, like we are not even looking at them. Some people they'll be frustrated, something will come and start.
So you just say like, thank you very much. Nikal jane ka. Yeah. So better is to avoid them. It's like prema maitri kripa peksha. What is that? Ishware tadadineshu balisheshu dvisatsucha. So dveshis is like we are supposed to apply no upeksha, like no avoidance. How do we know? So, like, we may not be able to know all the qualities of his, like whether it is spiritual or material. So, but at least some qualities we may know for sure that this is spiritual. So, like his following of rules and regulations, applying of the rules and regulations. So, the initial phase of bhakti, like what are we expected to do? Like initial phase of bhakti, we are not expected that we will become humble. We will become how nicely we are applying to the process of chanting. How nicely we are applying the process of reading. How we are actually scheduling time to taking out time to like read the books and taking out time to attend satsang programs and things like that. So this is the criteria that is there in the beginning stage, and that should be the criteria with which we should glorify as well, right? So then it is safe, no? Maybe he's a very advanced devotee, but I don't know. So like, so let me see that what is the level I am in. So accordingly, like let me also see the qualities and glorify that. I am safe in that. This one. Yes.
So, as you told Prabhuji, the jnani are like one who knows all knowledge. And,
The desire of the goal of a jnana, so that is like getting out of all the material problems. So here he is in the very gross level of problem. He is going through some problem and he wants to get out of the problem, right? So to some extent we can also categorize them in the category of karmi, no? And then jigyasu is a person who is inquisitive. He can be there in any of this category. Like generally, like a person when he comes to the platform of jigyasa, inquiring for something different. So his material needs are satisfied. Basically, he's satisfied with many of the needs of his life. So then he would ask, ye kya hai, wo kya hai? Like he'll be able to ask these questions. But if he's struggling for his basic existence, उसको कुछ inquisitiveness नहीं है, like only inquisitiveness, पैसा मिल जाए, and things like that. So like that. So that is his position. And jnani is a person who's not just inquisitive. He is actually able to. He has come to an awareness of understanding the soul and the super soul. He is more aware. He's like an inquisitive person is asking like what is there. And jnani is a person who's there, who's there, like who's able to actually have an experience of Brahman. So that is a person called jnani. So that's like karma, jnana, and things like that is the path that they are actually taking and the goal that they are desiring. And this is more of as people who are looking for something transcendence. At what point they'll look for. So if they have desires of wealth or trying to get out of the problems of life and these kind of things, inquisitive and things like that.
what is the Atho Brahma Jigyasa?
Atata Brahma Jigyasa is like, now that we have got the human form of life, we should inquire about Brahman. So we should, that Brahma Jigyasa is quite an important, this one. Even a jnani, even a devotee, for that aspect, like we see that pure devotees like Shad Goswamis, they are also doing Brahma Jigyasa. What Brahma Jigyasa they are doing? Where is Krishna? Hey Radhe Vrajadev Ge Chilalite, hey Nanda Suno Kuta. Still Jigyasa is going on. So that is like never going to stop. So initially the Jigyasa is like, I want to understand Brahman. And then I want to understand Paramatma. And then I want to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even after coming to the highest level of realization, still the Jigyasa continues. Where is Krishna? Right? So like they're constantly there. So that's a constant, this one that is needed for the living entity to be nourished, always. Hare Krishna. Yes. Okay, so the process of Krishna consciousness has to be understood. So it is not direct process like I'm going to speak something and I'm going to see the transformation. No, it's not like that. The transformation is I'm going to speak something, with which, like I'm going to speak some transcendental subject matter, not adulterated. So whereas Krishna become manifest, and when Krishna becomes manifest, he enters the ears and he personally goes and cleanses the heart of the person. So now the result of he being transformed or not is not there in our hand. So our duty is not his transformation. Our duty is somehow or other present Krishna as it is, and then Krishna's duty is to cleanse him, and then the result comes. It is completely decoupled. No, result and the activity that you are doing has not we don't have it has doesn't have a too much of tight coupling. No, it's loosely coupled, wherein you are trying your best to present Krishna. So that's your duty, and Krishna's duty is to cleanse. And like if that person with the right attitude he had heard and he has allowed Krishna to act upon himself, so then he will show more purification. So now this actually makes us the job of a preacher is, how can I manifest Krishna in this place? How can I present Krishna in this place? That's the job of a preacher, right? So if we see that how can I transform this person, maybe we will get depressed. We may not be able to do that most of the times, right? And that's actually later in the equation. So if I have too much of focus on transforming that person, so maybe I'm not able to manifest Krishna, or I'm not able to present Krishna nicely in that situation. So then though the result which I'm attached to, that is to transform that person, it may not happen only. So the best thing is to see that I've been put in this place to preach, how can I present Krishna as it is, and how can I allow Krishna to act in this place, right? And Krishna will do the job, whatever is need to be done. So
We can take the risk even when our supplies are full of questions.
because we are trying to manifest Krishna, so if Krishna appears, he'll purify us, he'll purify him. It is good. Right? So in that way, when we practice like that, then the preaching also becomes sadhana. During chanting, what we are trying to do, we are trying to associate with Krishna. During reading, what we are trying to do, we are trying to associate with Krishna. During preaching, what we are trying to do, we are trying to associate with Krishna there also. So it offers purification. But if we go to preach saying that I am going to preach to this person, and who is that person? He is a combination of modes of nature, and my focus is on the modes of nature, and I'll get affected by the modes of nature, and I'll come back preached. Right? So that's this one. My whole goal is not, okay, some person is there, I know, but then my goal is to manifest Krishna in this place. And if Krishna becomes manifest, I'll be purified and he'll also be purified. Right? So that's the goal over there. Right.
How does one achieve state which is not lacking Krishna consciousness?
How does?
How does one achieve a state in which his mind cannot be drawn to Krishna consciousness?
His mind is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so that is yesterday Maharaj told a very nice example of development of bhakti. So we get the seed of devotional service from the spiritual master. I think we should also conclude so that we can reach to Maharaj's class in time. 10 o'clock is the program announced there. So we are confidently doing till this time because they are having Go Puja and other distance and all. 10:30 only class will start. So we'll finish with this question, right? So this is Maharaj told a very nice example of this Bhakti Lata, right? So what is our role in development of Bhakti and to advance in Bhakti? So first is we have to receive the seed of devotional service. That is, seed of devotional service is the desire to engage in Krishna's service, right? So how do we get the desire to engage in Krishna's service? So by a association of a sadhu, association of a guru or a sadhu, or even the Vaishnavas. So when we associate with them, somebody is doing Krishna's service so nicely. They are so much, they have feeling towards rendering service to Krishna. And then we also get the desire, I should also render service like this, right? So that is a subtle way of getting the desire. And then the more grosser way is that the spiritual master at the time of initiation, he gives point to point. You chant 16 rounds in this beats, and then you follow 4 regulative principles. We get a bona fide instruction. No need to speculate anything bona fide instruction from the spiritual master. Rest of the life we can actually know if any other instruction is there or not. This instruction is for sure it is there. I should chant the 16 rounds because it's a service given to me personally by the spiritual master, and I should dedicate this thing very nicely towards him. Right? So we get a service through that. So and this seed of devotional service, what we are supposed to do, we have to nourish that with this one of Shravanam and Kirtanam. We should hear and chant and things like that. So when we do that, so then the seed actually sprouts and it becomes big and big and big. So but the thing that can actually affect the seed is the aspect of aparadh. when aparadha happens, like when we offend devotees, so then the growth of this one is stunted. So in another way, like to analyze this is, like growth of the creeper of Bhakti Lata is like compared to Krishna removing the curtain of the material nature and Krishna revealing himself to us, right? And then when we commit offenses to the devotees, then what happens? Devotees are very close to Krishna, very dear to Krishna, and Krishna doesn't like that, when devotees get offended. So then Krishna covers himself up. When he covers, so then the revelation is stopped. So then then we are not advancing in Krishna consciousness. Advancement of Krishna consciousness is two layer. One is removal of material modes of nature, and then revelation of Krishna. These two things has to happen, right? So this process becomes stunted. So then we will not be able to grow our bhakti. And then this is one problem that actually affects. Another problem is we are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam, but rather than our desire to serve Krishna increasing, like other things, the desire for puja, labha, pratishtha, and desire for other things, which is compared to the weeds or unwanted plants which are there, right next to the creeper. So they become stout and strong, right? So we have to. That is possible by constantly analyzing: am I doing devotional service or not? And then this is the reason for which we have the devotee association. Devotee association is not the place where we keep expecting, this devotee will appreciate me, you did a nice service and things like that. So then we should go and say no, Prabhuji, this service nicely I did, that's okay. But what is that anarthas which I have? Please tell me that I can focus on removing that. And the process of removal is that we should pray to Krishna that this particular anartha is I'm so much identifying myself with this. Every activity that I'm doing, I want some appreciation. So I'm so much identifying with this. Krishna, please save me from this. Please remove this anartha and please make me a devotee. Please make my Bhakti Lata to grow very nicely. So we have to identify each and every one of these anarthas by the study of scriptures and by the association of devotees. And then we should pray to Krishna that please remove this thing so that I may advance in devotional service. So when we do this thing, so then Krishna will reveal more and more, and the Bhakti Lata will grow very nicely in this one. So our job is to do the Shravanam Kirtanam nicely or the Navavidha Bhakti nicely, and then try to be away from protect ourselves from the Vaishnava Aparad or any other offenses also. There are 10 offenses that we read. So we should try to keep ourselves away from Aparad. And Maharaj told a very nice point that if we are trying to practice humility, then all the etiquettes will be followed and we will not commit any offenses. It's one short solution for everything. And then we should also be careful about seeing if there is any other weeds that are growing. Now, am I actually doing devotional service or I am doing something else? So till this point, Maharaj covered yesterday. So we can actually see this thing. We can keep doing this thing only, and rest, our absorption in Krishna will grow automatically. And Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So devotees can quickly take prasadam and can